All right, hey everyone. I think we're gonna go ahead and get started. So, thank you everyone for coming out to the GameTrailers Presents Pop Fiction panel. My name is Mike Damiani. I am the creator-producer of Pop Fiction, and I brought a few friends with me today. I let you introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Don Casanova, and I'm the video editor of Pop Fiction.
I'm Brandon Jones. I'm the co-founder of GameTrailers, and I also do the voiceover for Pop Fiction and other stuff that we do on the site. Woo! Yay, all of us! Yay!
So today we're going to show off a few episodes, and we're going to wrap up by showing you a brand new episode near the end with a special guest. So we're going to start off with the episode some of you might have seen already, but we wanted to show it again because it's one of my favorite episodes. So could we begin with the episode entitled Start? And after each episode, we'll take some Q&A, and we'll go from there.
If you want the ultimate game challenge, you have to get Action 52.
Yeah, it's so cool!
Super Mario Brothers 3!
If you were old enough to remember the heyday of the NES, then you might recall the infamous multi-carts, unlicensed cartridges containing anywhere from a dozen games to upwards of 100 or more. One of the most well-known of these is the Action 52, a multi-cart released in 1991 that contained 52 unlicensed games for the NES. Action 52 also saw release on the Sega Genesis in 1993, and the marketing materials for the game even indicated a Super NES version was planned at one point. The contents of this multi-cart, developed by Florida-based Active Enterprises, are widely regarded as some of the worst games ever made, and Action 52 is routinely a subject of ridicule. Almost all of the games on Action 52 were unremarkable rip-offs, but one called Cheetah Men managed to stand out from the rest. The creators believed the game had the potential to be the next Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so they planned for a standalone sequel. However, Active Enterprises folded before Cheetah Men 2 was released, and the game should have never seen the light of day. That is until supposedly in 1996, somebody discovered a stockpile of roughly 1,500 copies of the game in working condition. These games began to circulate and eventually ended up on auction sites like eBay, where copies still sell today for over $1,000. Those unfortunate enough to snag a copy were treated to an abysmal game with some of the worst gameplay ever. If you somehow managed to make it to the end of the 4th level and defeated the boss, the game didn't advance due to a game-ending bug. Most chalked the glitch up to the fact that it probably wasn't finished, but at some point a person came forward saying that there were more levels than just the original 4. Were there really more levels to this train wreck? And if so, how did one go about accessing them? The urban legend to unlocking these hidden levels goes something like this. If you happen to own one of the rare copies of Cheetah Men 2, you simply place it into your NES and flip the power switch on and off rapidly. If you're patient enough, eventually the game will start up somewhere other than the first level. One of these random starting points was apparently the 5th level of the game. After reaching that level through this unorthodox method, you can play through and reach the 6th level normally and eventually take on the final boss of the game. Considering how rare and expensive Cheetah Man 2 is, we were unable to secure a copy on our own through traditional means. So instead, we decided to resort to something a bit more drastic.
I want to play a game. I've locked the doors, so don't bother trying to escape. Now that I have your attention, this is what you're going to do. First, you're going to go over to that box in the corner and take out its contents. Just like that. Yes. I see you're familiar with that game. If you ever want to leave this room alive, you're going to have have to access the hidden levels in Cheetah Men 2 by flipping the power on and off.
Come on, I played it enough.
Play or die. The choice is yours.
All right, fine. Let's do this. How the hell is this gonna happen? This is impossible. Why the f did I even put this piece of in here? I'd staple my balls to the ceiling if I could reach.
That's very good, nerd. You finally understand. Given how random this potential glitch is, you could be at this for years potentially and never get it to work. Since you figured it out, I'll release you as I said, but before that happens, let me share with you some insight into this glitch.
In order to better understand the glitch that plagues Cheetah Man 2, we here at GT decided to reach out to Damian Yarrick, an NES engineer who works on NES emulators and custom NES ROMs. Damian writes, "The NES can see only about 32 kilobytes of a cartridge's program at a time, and NES games use circuits called mappers to control which page the CPU can see at once. If you've ever opened a cartridge and seen a chip marked 74HC161, MMC1, or MMC3, that's a mapper. The mapper is controlled by one or more ports or locations in the cartridge that the CPU can write to change which page is visible. Some kind of mappers have a function to keep a half page always visible at once, a fixed bank. Mappers designed for multi-carts, such as the active mapper, do not have a fixed bank so that each game can fill a whole page. Other kinds of mappers have a circuit to clear out the mapper whenever the 1.7 MHz CPU clock signal is interrupted, a power-on reset. The power-on reset circuit in the active mapper might be poorly engineered. When the NES powers up, the mapper is in an unpredictable state that depends on electrical noise, ambient temperature, and other factors. The data in the console's RAM is likewise unpredictable. In order to start the program properly, each page needs to have a reset stub, or a short piece of code that runs when the console is powered on, or reset, and writes a page number to the mapper's port, so that the CPU can start from a known page. I've read that each level of the original Cheetah Men is stored on a separate page and can be extracted to its own ROM file. And if the code quality in Cheetah Men 2 is anything like what I've read about Action 52, some of the reset stubs might be defective. A defective stub would cause the program to start executing in the wrong page, or to just freeze. As you've seen from the footage and from the previous statement, these games were a mess in terms of their coding. We could just attribute the bugs to the fact that these were unlicensed games that were poorly coded, but there's actually more to the story than mere speculation. During the course of our investigation, we came across an article written by Active 52 connoisseur and journalist Adam Erickson, who interviewed a former Active Enterprise employee named Mario, who had a hand in the development of Action 52. Mario shared his experience working at the company and revealed some insight into why these games were so buggy. Mario told us that Vince Perry, the owner of Active Enterprises, wanted Mario and some colleagues to work on a game called Action 52. After signing contracts and then completing training at a facility in Salt Lake City, Utah, Mario began working on the game. Mario doesn't remember why, but for some reason Vince wanted all 52 games completed in 3 months. Anyone who would try to develop 52 games in 3 months was asking for trouble. If you don't think Mario's testimony is strong enough evidence, then check out this excerpt from an expose on Active Enterprises and its owner Vince Perry that ran in the Miami Herald back in July of 1993. The article delves into the financial background of the company, but also reveals that Perry farmed out the programming of Action 52 to college students. Even back during the NES days, any respected developer would tell you that a 3-month development cycle relying only on amateur programmers would have been a terrible idea. The final part of this tale is that the hidden levels actually exist, and there is a surefire way to reach them. Eventually, the ROM of the game made its way onto the internet, and the programmer named Paco-chan took the liberty of going to the game's code and patching it up so that players could finally experience the game without any of the crippling bugs. That meant that when you finally made it past the boss in the 4th level, you advanced to the 5th level rather than getting stuck. Don't get too excited though, the 2 new levels are just as bad as the first 4, and the reward for reaching the end doesn't justify the agony you have to endure. Paco-chan also echoes the earlier sentiments about the sloppy nature of the game's programming by adding that he discovered there's a glitch in Cheetah Men 2 that prevents the game from recognizing you defeated a boss. The game does some kind of check at the 2nd and 3rd boss that always returns a wrong value, preventing anyone from advancing to the next level. Paco-chan simply went into the code and forced the game to ignore the wrong value and return the correct one so that players could advance in the patched ROM.
So as you can see, the hidden levels do in fact exist, but due to a multitude of factors ranging from poor coding practices to a rushed development cycle, they were originally only accessible via the power flipping glitch.
Like, yeah. You just wasted all my time. I just had to play this piece of again. Did you see? I did the glitches episode where I showed that the levels do exist. You know that, right? Like they exist. What, do we have to know why they exist? Like, if you look at a piece of dog, do you have to explain how it came out of the dog's ass? We don't need to know that. Just because something sucks, we don't need to know why it's come to be. This, can I go now? Am I done? Am I done?
Yes.
So yeah, give it up for the nerd.
Yeah.
Helping us out on that one.
So I want to give you guys a chance. If anyone has any questions about that episode, since it involved a nerd, feel free to ask. I see we have a question right here.
That was a real Cheetah Man cartridge, so was turning off and on could have damaged it. So I asked you had insurance or just in case it gets damaged or.
Oh, you mean from flipping the power on and off? I asked James ahead of time if he was okay with that, and he said he was okay with us running it through that. He was aware that flipping it on and off could potentially damage it, but I guess James, he said it was okay. So it's his game, so we made sure it was cool with him, and if he was cool with it, then we were cool with it too.
Who came up with the initial idea to do the Action 52? Like, did the Angry Billionaire approach you guys, or did you approach him? You just sat down together and thought hey, let's do a Cheetah Man review. Do a episode on it.
All right, there's 2 parts of this. I'll answer the first part, and I'm going to let Don answer kind of the second part. The first part of it, we had brainstormed for a while doing some collaboration episodes with other people like James, the Angry Video Game Nerd. And we reached out to James, and he's obviously a content partner on GameTrailers, and he was down to do it. Originally, it was just supposed to be a cameo. We needed a copy of Cheetah Men 2, and we weren't allowed to buy one for $1,000. That was a little bit above our budget. And it sort of worked out that we could do that episode. I told James, I knew he already had covered it before, and we wanted to do an angle where we'd actually explain why the glitch worked, and that maybe the nerd could react to hearing the glitch was kind of the original idea. The original idea was basically just to have him be a cameo appearance, to show up, hand us the game, make some snide remark about it, and then maybe at the end just make another reaction to the explanation, and that was supposed to be it. But the day of, we came up with, of the actual shoot with James, we came up with something a little bit more clever, perhaps. I think I'll let Don explain what we did with this.
Yeah, so how it all ended up happening was James, as some of you might have heard, was out in Southern California shooting his movie at the time, and so he had a brief period of time where he was going to be coming over to GT where we could shoot with him, and in that very morning, Mike had the concept of, well, maybe we can have him some sort of Saw type thing where he's actually trapped in game trailers and we have to make him, you know, run tests. And so then just very quickly before James got there in a couple hours, I just started coming up with a shot list, and we knew we had this one little room we wanted to shoot in because it had those pipes. That's pretty much why we decided to shoot in there. It was just one tiny little room, though. And came up with a shot list, and we had about an hour and a half to shoot the whole thing, so we just moved very fast. And in terms of James, we didn't have a lot of totally specific dialogue. We would have sort of emotionally how it was changing, and so we'd kind of give him how he's you know, emotionally going to be reacting to the situation and how that was developing. And other than that, he came up with a lot of the improv stuff that you heard, and that's why it's so funny. And yeah, it was a delicate balance that I think going in we were a little worried about how that crossover, how the two universes of pop fiction. And
did he bring his own beer?
We provided the beer. I had my friend John, who actually usually has some beer in his office, but he had to run down to the store and pick up the Heinekens or the Rolling Rocks real fast. And so we had that ready. And that was going to be a more complicated thing originally with the beer, but we had, and I wasn't sure if he still drank beers either because I hadn't seen him do it in his videos for a while. So we had to make sure he's cool with it, but that ended up being something we just were able to throw in there real fast and get in as a detail.
All right, one more question and we'll move on.
I was just wondering if you've ever considered having Pat the NES Punk on your show.
Oh, the Happy NES Punk?
Pat the NES Punk.
Oh, Pat the NES. Okay, so I know there's a happy video game nerd that I've seen too. I've seen a lot of guys. There are other people we're considering. The one thing is we want to make these kind of special. We don't want to make this a regular thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, we'll consider anyone. I have a pretty good understanding of who the big gaming YouTube and video personalities are, and we'll reach out to them if they're interested. And it doesn't always work out. That's something we'd like to try and do, but again, we kind of want to keep these few and far between so it doesn't completely go in this direction.
Okay, thank you for your time.
All right. And I think we'll move on. Do you have anything else to add, Brandon? Or
no, just that I love his comment at the end. I know there was kind of like a little bit of confusion. It was like, well, wait, he's making fun of pop fiction and saying that the episode was stupid? Like, do we want to cut this at the end? But like, I love that. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
I thought, you know,
that's how the angry video game nerd would have reacted. That made sense, and we didn't want it to be any other way. So, yeah, sure. Say what do you want to say?
I just think that it's funny that it turned out too that episode of Pop Fiction is one of the most sort of brutal to get through in terms of information, and like it's very long, and it's just sort of funny because it's like, you know, so almost like an inside joke that works within the episode itself.
All right, so recently we actually went back and revisited a few episodes that already had aired and updated them with some new information. So we're going to show off some of those in case you haven't seen the revised ones. And if you have any questions, we'll follow up with that afterwards. So can we actually start with revised 3, I believe? Yes.
Ocarina of Time contained a treasure trove of secrets and countless Easter eggs, some of which were only recently unearthed more than a decade after its release. We here at GT are just now scratching the surface of the gold-coated cartridge's many myths, but it's time to shed some light on a murky topic that's been obscured by the mists of time. Back in 1998, Ocarina of Time's launch was apparently not without controversy. According to several sources and still widely cited as fact, Nintendo decided to alter the original Fire Temple theme to remove chanting that resembled a specific Muslim prayer in later versions of Ocarina of Time's code, in response to public outcry from the Islamic community. Nintendo made the highly anticipated release of Ocarina of Time an even bigger ordeal by offering a limited edition gold cartridge for pre-orders. Those not lucky enough to snag a copy were stuck with the standard gray cartridge release. Immediately, players began digging for any differences and initially found none, but over the years, avid fans began to discover that there were several differences between the two cartridges, and then some. It took a while, but these dedicated players pieced together all the variations and constructed a comprehensive log of the multiple versions across all territories. During this process, it was discovered that 2 versions of the music heard in the Fire Temple existed. A quick search of the internet reveals that the backlash from the Muslim community was the culprit. The story goes that the chanting in the song resembled lines from a Muslim prayer. Concerned parents that heard the song proceeded to contact Nintendo, prompting the Big N to revise the music and issue an updated version of the game. It was a situation eerily similar to the more recent Zack and Wiki and Little Big Planet controversies, so it's possible that this is the explanation. Also, there are some that are posting their own evidence online that claim the chants translate into Arabic and resemble a Muslim prayer, lending further credibility to the myth. In subsequent re-releases on GameCube and Wii's Virtual Console, the Fire Temple music remains altered without the chanting. Not too long ago, an inside source came to GameTrailers to point out something that almost everyone had overlooked for 12 years. We decided to take their information and put it to the test to see if it proved or debunked the popular belief about why the Fire Temple music was changed. Before doing this, though, we want to make a few facts clear. First, the following are the first ever release dates of Ocarina of Time in every major territory. It's also important to note that according to every published guide and log available online, the chanting in the Fire Temple is present in versions 1.0 and 1.1, but altered in version 1.2, and all subsequent re-releases on GameCube and the Wii's Virtual Console. A code on a sticker below the Nintendo logo on an N64 cartridge determines which version of the game is inside. With all this in mind, we can proceed with verifying our source's claim. In order to do this, we had to obtain multiple versions of Ocarina of Time for the Nintendo 64, and then use what's called the crooked cartridge trick to access the debug menu of each. The crooked cartridge trick requires you to simply pull the left side of your cartridge up slowly while holding down the right side. We do not condone or accept any responsibility for anyone using the crooked cart trick. It could corrupt your save data or render your game unplayable. When the music becomes distorted and Link begins to flicker, stop moving the cartridge and look for a yellow bar to appear in the top left. From there, you can access the game's debug menu by inputting the following commands. If done correctly, a message box in the top left of the screen will appear. Then cycle through the menus by pressing A until you get to the ROM version screen, and check the bottom lines to verify the game's version and when it was completed. We did this on every single N64 version we could get our hands on, the original Japanese version, the 3 North American versions, and the European PAL version. Our findings revealed something truly puzzling. The details are in the numbers. Though the online guides proved accurate, what's odd is that every single N64 cartridge we tested out, whether it had the Fire Temple music or not, gave us a ROM completion date prior to the earliest known release date of Ocarina of Time anywhere in the world. That means the Fire Temple chants were removed prior to the game being made commercially available, period. While it is entirely possible that Nintendo received complaints about the original Fire Temple music after its release, public outcry could not have been the reason for this revision. The likely reason people believed in this rumor is that version 1.2 didn't start hitting store shelves until well after Ocarina of Time's original release in 1998. So why exactly was the Fire Temple's music remixed in the first place? We reached out to Nintendo of America for comment, but originally they declined. However, in the September 2001 issue of Nintendo Power, the editorial staff responded to an inquiry about the Fire Temple music by saying that the creators didn't want to offend anyone, and as a result, changed the choir effect that sounded like a Muslim chant. Though the response does not actually say it was due to public outcry, it does prove Nintendo was aware of the potential issue, and that lends itself well to the theory that perhaps Nintendo saw the issues coming and preemptively made the change. One other theory that we had is that perhaps the audio effect for the chanting wasn't originally created by Nintendo, but actually part of a stock library. What makes us suspect this is that the chanting heard in the original version of the Fire Temple actually appeared in other games. In the N64 adaptation of Cruisin' World, the same chanting can be heard in the theme for the course called Cairo Cruisin'. What's most telling about this is the fact that Cruisin' World was released on September 26, 1998, almost 2 whole months before Ocarina of Time first came out. Apparently, Nintendo didn't even create the chanting sound effect used in the Fire Temple theme. The same effects apparently also made their way into 2002's Kakuto Chojin Back Alley Brutal for the Xbox, in a track entitled Love Hate Chant. the game was quickly pulled from store shelves after its release, again supposedly due to public outcry from the Islamic community that the chanting resembled lines from the Quran, and the game was never re-released after the recall. While it would probably take a direct statement from somebody involved in the production process of the game's soundtrack to completely verify this theory, the probable nail in the coffin comes from a recent response from Nintendo's customer service department. We inquired about the change, and this time we received a response. So there you have it. Nintendo never actually created the chanting effect heard in the original version of the Fire Temple theme. And while it was ultimately changed because of the Islamic references, it was not due to public outcry, but rather a preemptive change to avoid controversy.
When you have gameplay like in these episodes, is it all stuff that you recorded yourself? For instance, the rare one?
Yes.
So did you already just happen to have a copy of it, or did you get it for this episode?
If we don't have a copy of a game in our library, we will track it down through Amazon, eBay, used game stores that are around us by our office. We do purchase all these games. So we actually got every single copy of Ocarina of Time that we tried out. We had to like wait for them to all ship to us, especially like the ones from overseas. So yeah, it's all games that we own. We don't pull. Sometimes we might use some footage from our archives if it's convenient, but 95 to 96% of the time it's new footage we capture specifically for this.
Thanks.
One of the other big differences between Pop Fiction and a lot of the other stuff that we do is if we're doing like, you know, a top 10 countdown or something, or like mentioning something in E3 footage where it's like, oh, we just need something from Dead or Alive 5. It doesn't matter. It could be anything. It could be a cinema. It could be a shot. We just mention it. Whereas with these, and so somebody's like, oh, I have that memory saved, or oh, I just finished Resident Evil 5. I have that saved on my hard drive. Where a lot of these myths are like, play the whole game up until this point, and like we can't fake that. We can't like load up a save. So this is one of the few shows that we work on that every episode has to be, we got to pop that thing in the cartridge and play the whole thing from the beginning. So a little more time intensive. More questions?
Next.
Hello again.
Ooh.
Since they said that chanting is from a commercial library,
yes.
Have you guys tried looking? You can find that chanting yourself.
Trying to track down the actual library.
Yeah, and the song.
We asked Nintendo in that email after the follow-up if they would let us know about that, and they said no. Well, they didn't really have any way to answer it because no one that worked in their offices, except for Daniel Osen, who was part of the localization team at the time, but had no hands-on with the actual debugging or programming of the game when it was localized in North America. There's no one there to actually technically answer that question. There are some N64 programmers I know that worked on N64 back in the day that are current game developers, and I've considered reaching out to them. Jules Watson, he's a game developer for Dementium, The Ward, and a bunch of other games. His team used to do N64 development, and he probably could let us know if he ever came across that library and maybe still has it around so we could actually check it out.
It appeared in several other games, so you tried asking the other companies?
Like Microsoft?
Yeah.
I haven't asked Microsoft yet. We haven't actually done anything that we've needed to go to Microsoft. It seemed like the easiest thing was to go to Nintendo and ask them about that. And I guess I'm kind of curious to know where it came from, like what the library was, but the most important thing was proving that it came from a library. It wasn't created by Nintendo, and it was created ahead of time. So I'll admit we kind of like stopped at that point. We didn't go any further than that, but that's something interesting that we can maybe revisit again. Another third version of the episode someday.
Like, I wonder if the guy that wrote that song even knows it was used in any of this stuff. He probably got a check for them using it, but like,
yeah,
if he's known that he's wrapped up in all this controversy.
Sure.
I remember watching the first episode before you guys updated it.
Yes.
Wasn't the myth originally trying to bring back the song that was already, because they had already changed it and everything? Wasn't the original myth you were trying to prove was trying to bring back the song into the game?
The original myth was the Fire Temple music changed due to public outcry. We didn't, up till the like the first 3-4 minutes of the episode completely unchanged, the original few minutes. So that was unaltered. So the line that says the exact myth, which is, was it changed due to the outcry, is still the same. So that's technically the myth that we were trying to bust at that point.
I guess I kind of confused myself with the whole debug mode and everything.
Yeah, I mean, that was just one of the means of evidence to try and find out if the code was done and it was locked down. If you know anything about game development, when a game goes in development process, and once it goes gold, it has about like a month to go to production. Those were like the lockdown dates of when it was technically went gold. It was sent into production, and if that was all locked down there, that people were countering, saying like, well, that could have just meant the code was done. Music could have been composed later. I was like, no. When a lockdown date's done, everything, all the assets, everything has to be in there. All the libraries for graphic models and music. So that was kind of why we went that route with that. That answer your question?
These episodes can be confusing. I definitely, at the end, it was like, fiction. I'm like, wait, that... Good. Wait. Okay. Yeah. That's.
Yeah.
Okay,
Early on, when we were first doing the series, we kind of weren't very good at making it clear what the myth was. And one of the things that we are considering going forward, because this new episode we'll be showing off today is the first of season 3, we would like to maybe consider having some kind of visual cue or something that actually shows you what the myth is, like maybe just written out at the beginning, so it's very clear, and at the end, like clearly showing what it was again. That way there isn't confusion like that. So do apologize if you get confused like that, but we don't mean to do that, and we know we weren't doing the best job initially, so thanks.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey, we do one more question for this.
I had a question of what do you do with all of these games once you're done playing them?
We have
take them out to a landfill. No.
You want to
we
answer?
just put them in our library. We got a big locked door in the back of the office.
Yeah, one of
They're
our
all in there.
editors, Daniel Bloodworth, he is the steward of the game library, and it's a giant closet with games from, a tomb with a bunch of games from all sorts of eras, and that's where we draw upon initially to get our games from, and then we seek elsewhere. All right, and we'll do another one. I just want to add one quick thing. I'm surprised no one asked about it. We do get asked a lot why we didn't mention the removal of the Gerudo symbols in the later versions of the game, and two things. One, it's the star, the crescent moon, and the star symbol. Just want to say that that's not inherently an Islamic or Muslim symbol. That symbol actually dates back to antiquity. It's actually, I believe it's a Mesopotamian is where it originated from. So I know it would be kind of interesting, but the episode would literally be just pull up a history book, show where it originated from, and it was not an Islamic symbol originally. And then the reason they removed it is when the GameCube version came out, it was post 9/11, so Nintendo was again just trying not to be insensitive to anybody and cause controversy. So I don't know if it'd make too much of a big deal for a new episode. So maybe we can add it in at some point. But I just wanted to clarify that because we have been getting asked that a lot.
Yeah, it's not often you hear about Nintendo offending people. There's not really.
Yeah, I know. They never offend anyone. So let's go ahead and show off. Real quick, before we move on, we'll give you some time. Does anyone have any myths that they really want to see us do, or anything that we haven't tackled? Yeah, there's some guy in the back who really wants to suggest something. Any suggestions about new myths that we haven't covered, or anything you'd like us to try differently? This doesn't have to all be just questions about the episodes. If you want to ask something else.
So I haven't seen every episode, so hopefully it isn't something you guys have covered. But there's a large community around people trying to find one last secret in Shadow of the Colossus. This all originates from Ico. There was something in the game that was entirely hidden that wasn't covered by the strategy guides or anything. It's even delved even further where people have found old developers' copy of the game that have been leaked, and they've been essentially using emulators to figure it out. So while there's not a specific myth, but the idea is that there's something left in that game to find, whether that's a 17th Colossus or another weapon or something like that. I think that'd be something really interesting to cover.
So the supposed hidden secret still left in Shadow of the Colossus. We've gotten some requests to do something related to Shadow of the Colossus. I think the easiest one that we've sent away is okay, I won't say it because if you haven't played the game, I'm not going to spoil it, but there's one thing regarding the ending sequence that people want us to figure out for them. But that's something I'd like to do at some point. We definitely have on a little list, we have the Shadow of the Colossus Eco one. I don't know if it was specifically what you're talking about, but I will make a note about that and maybe try and consider that for the actual episode. So thanks. We have one right here and one up here, Rich.
So I remember there was an episode on the Angry Video Game Nerd where they were going over the Sword Quest games.
Yeah. Sword Quest, yeah.
Yeah, from Atari. And I was wondering if it would be possible to track down the prizes that were lost.
Oh.
Like they had that, the Philosopher's Stone, the sword, and the crown, like worth like 25,000. And they have all those rumors about how like the guy who bought out Atari has them, but nobody knows where they are. So if it could be possible to find the treasures that were lost from the game.
Yeah, it's tricky. It's like with games, it's there, like they release the code, so like if there's an answer, it's somewhere buried in there, you just have to find it.
Yeah.
It's like I could just go make one, you know, we could make like a bogus episode, like we found them, here they are. And
Okay.
There's no way to, you can't like carbon date the fake plastic or like,
I mean,
there's no
that
way
one,
really to know, but that story is amazing. I mean, that'd be cool to make a movie.
A lot of that would make for a good setup for the episode.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the ones that would really hinge upon actually getting a hold of the supposed owner of Atari at the time who had all those prizes and getting them to come forth and put something on the record. When we have situations like that when they won't go on the record, the best we could do is put together all the information that some of you might already know. Like I'm pretty sure you know, since you watched the episodes of Angry Video Game Nerd, you know a lot about the backstory of it.
Yeah.
We basically do the equivalent and then we tried to contact them, they didn't get back to us, so inconclusive. I know that would make, with our production value, we can make a good video, but I kind of want some closure to this. I don't like the inconclusive verdict, so that's the one that's one that we'll mark down definitely and see if there's anything we can get a hold of or track down. So thanks for that. We'll definitely try and see what we can do about that at some point.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
It'd be like Jimmy Hoffa's safe if you actually got to crack that open. We should do it live.
I was wondering if you could do an episode on why Star Fox 2 wasn't released.
Okay. I don't know. They thought I was just going to say okay. There's a story out there about why the developers kind of commented on that, but if you really want to see an episode about that, we could do one on that. The answer is out there. You can actually track it down if you
Yeah, I just think it would be better if you guys said it.
Okay. I like this guy. I like this guy.
That's really, that makes me really happy. One thing I was surprised about, because it's funny, like a lot of these myths I've never ever heard, like the Muslim chant. That's crazy. I didn't hear that at the time. Like that's fascinating. But like we did the Ghost Town in GTA, which I was like, oh yeah, Ghost Town. Yeah, I totally found that. Like that wasn't a myth for me because I just played that game insanely and like was just happened to fly over that area and like saw it. And yet we did the episode and everybody loved it. So it was like I think it's just kind of satisfying to catalog all this stuff and get video proof of it. So if you have that friend that's like, no, there's not something, you can be like, okay, just let me give the video. Okay, see there, Ghost Town, shut up.
Yeah, and we also try and add our own thing to the episode, whether it's bring some kind of new information that wasn't there before, or just putting something in the video form that there weren't that great of videos out there to begin with. So we won't just try and just copy paste anything. We try and do something a little bit more original with that material we have. Was there one more?
Yeah.
Okay, one more, then we'll move on.
I think the modern nature of the internet precludes a lot of modern games from really being in your episodes, but I think one recently that would really be a good fit is Fez. Very specifically, the very final few riddles. The very last one was brute forced by the internet, and no one knows if the clues to that riddle were in the game or what Phil Fish was doing or if he intended for the internet to brute force it. There were over 300,000 combinations that they kind of just, sent out to the masses, and eventually someone hit it. And then he shared it, and then the very final piece was revealed, and that didn't do anything, and a lot of people thought it should. And I don't know if you can reach out to Phil Fish or try and figure out what's going on there, but that'd be really cool.
I think that would be a good one to do.
Yeah,
Phil Fish.
Kind of thinking outside the box.
I mean, he's crazy, but
he would love the attention.
Yeah,
so
he would.
He would like to be on an episode. I know that, and we definitely have his contact information. We definitely could get a hold of him. So that actually sounds like we need more modern game ones. And I know it's harder with the internet and everyone like rushing to like rip a game's code, see everything that's hidden in there. But it's great when there's stuff like that, like the Batman Arkham Asylum room that no one found for like 6-7 months until after the game release. That's the type of stuff I wish developers would do more of. So one, because they're cool to find, and I think it helps a game's longevity, and it also gives us more material to work with. So. Which one?
Skyrim Giants? Can you talk to Skyrim Giants?
Can you actually talk to the Skyrim Giants?
Can I actually talk to
Can you like learn their language and talk to them?
Like the little action figures? Like the ones you put on the portal?
Not the Skylander. The giants with the clubs.
Skyrim, not
Mammoths,
Skylanders.
Skyrim, like,
Oh, I thought you were talking about Skylanders. Sorry.
Did you hear about this, or is this just something you've always wanted to do?
I've read things saying that they were originally programming notes about being able to converse with the giants, and then they scrapped it.
Maybe.
All right.
You said modern games, so.
So, okay.
Write that in.
Yeah. Not Skylanders.
Skyrim.
Skyrim, I know the difference between the two games. I thought it would have been cooler talking to, like, the little toys from Activision or something.
Watch me do,
like they start talking to a little kid or something, and they creep him out.
We do like a blowout Skylanders episode, and she's at home like, Skyrim, I said Oh, God.
Yep. Yep. All right, let's, this guy has his hand up. Okay, we have enough time for you.
We have enough time.
Well, he put his hand down now, so I guess you don't want to. Okay, you still
want
to
do it?
question.
Put your hand up high. There you are. Thank you.
Hi. I saw that on my. I know that Rocksteady for Batman Arkham City recently announced that there were still former Easter eggs that are still in the game that no one has found yet. And as an idea, maybe I think you guys can tackle that and try to find those last 4 Easter eggs.
Yeah, the Arkham City Easter eggs that they said were still in there.
There's the first 15 minutes of the game.
Yeah, those ones are tricky because sometimes, I'll give you an example. The Mega Man 9, Capcom has said that there's a hidden secret in there for forever now. And I'm pretty sure Mega Man fans are pretty thorough and have combed over that game pretty extensively. And I think that sometimes developers like to say there are secrets in their games just to get people to keep playing them or buying them because they know the fans gobble this type of stuff up. Not saying everyone does this, but that's something we can definitely look into, but also be cautious that there are some developers who take advantage of this. So when you think of a good myth and the source of it is just a developer quote, that's where you need to be a little bit cautious. So, all right, we will get to you after we show off one more thing. So just remember to raise your hand afterwards, and we will definitely get to you.
Hidden stuff in the episodes. Be like, there's a hidden frame in our last episode.
There were people
watch
who
it 20 more times.
There were people who played the new version of our introduction backwards, the bass music, because they thought there was hidden messages in it or something. After the Skyward Sword song came out and it was Zelda's theme backwards, people started playing our thing backwards.
This is probably one of the oldest myths in the book, jumping over the flagpole in the original Super Mario Bros. For the NES. If you've played the game, no doubt the thoughts crossed your mind at least once. But is it really possible to leap that towering metal giant? And if so, what exactly lies beyond the flagpole and that castle Mario vanishes into? This rumor was born in living rooms back in the late 1980s when the world was hooked on Mario. One of gaming's earliest urban legends, it's one of the most well-known myths even to this day. While there are several variations out there, the most common states you could jump over the flagpole on the very first level. There are 8 worlds with 4 levels for a total of 32 possible opportunities. But then you have to factor in that 8 of those levels are castles without a flagpole. In total, there are only 24 flagpoles Mario can interact with, and we're gonna try to jump them all. We were skeptical for a while after numerous failed attempts, but our mad jumping skills would not be denied. On World 3-3, the impossible became a reality. That chubby little Italian plumber from Brooklyn just barely cleared the flagpole. But joy quickly turned to panic as the ticker marched down to 0, and poor little Mario's triumph was short-lived. Originally, we thought it impossible to jump over the flagpole anywhere else in the game, but shortly after this episode was released, a glitch was discovered that allows Mario to get over the flagpole in World 1-1. In order to do this, you need to make it roughly halfway through the stage, right after you clear the second pit in the level. Once you've cleared it, you need to move just far enough right that there's just enough space for something to fall down it. You need to lure the Koopa Troopa over to the left side of the screen, and then you want to use a well-timed jump to hit the enemy just as it's falling into the gap. Then, wait for the turtle to come out of its shell, and carefully make your way over to the area with the flagpole without losing sight of the foe. Be sure to get the mushroom on your way to turn into Super Mario, or else this won't work. When the turtle is roughly on the 4th block away from the pole, begin to make your jump. And if you timed it correctly, you'll see Mario make a bounce like he hit the turtle in midair and will clear the flagpole. Unfortunately, the end result is the same. Mario is stuck in an endlessly repeating area with no escape. So as you can see, not only is it possible to jump the flagpole in the first level, but in other levels as well.
Anyone have any questions about that episode? Okay, there are quite a few.
The whole room just lit up.
Let's start right here.
Blown up over
I think I know one question is coming our way, but we'll see.
Yeah. How did you make the connection to use the turtle to jump over the flag? That's maddening. Like, who started
the
that?
internet, right?
Like,
Yeah. Okay, so
It's the internet's idea.
The internet is a good answer, but that trick is actually called walking the turtle. And it was discovered in the 95 or 96 is the first person who claimed to have discovered it. And then there are old videos on a glitch site I used to go to around 2002. The guy who pretty much found out a bunch of Link to the Past and Link's Awakening glitches, like the screen warp on Link's Awakening where you could warp over using the select button. He had one for walking the turtle, which basically, not just in World 1-1, any world where you can get a Koopa Troopa and a gap, and you can get enough height on the jump. You can, like, if you see the end of the video, there's actually a part where we didn't make it. We kind of screwed up. You could have cleared the flag in that level as well. So someone spent their time just messing around with that. Someone must have accidentally almost died and hit a turtle like that and saw that the turtle was walking across the bottom of the screen. And if you saw something walking across the bottom of the screen and was following you and you got to the flagpole, I think it would be a natural conclusion to draw that, let me try jumping when he's near the flag. Maybe something will happen. And maybe after several tries, they got it to work. And they're like, holy crap, let's try that on other levels. And someone put it up on YouTube around 2005, and the video got taken down. And someone re-uploaded it around 2008 or late 2008. It was put back up, the entire video. And you can Google it, or you can look it up on YouTube. It shows like every single spot you can do it, and how kind of more the intricacies of the like physics, if you really want to get into like the game programming. But that's where it came from. I'll preempt this right now. We got a lot of people who got angry at us thinking that we kind of took this from Mike Matei of with Angry Video Game Nerd. He did an episode on this. I know that he did that, and he's a really great guy, and I love his work, but people want to know why we didn't credit him in the episode, and the truth is we go to the source who came up with this, and I can't find who actually came up with the trick. I can just remember finding a forum post about someone saying they had done it, and then a video came up in 2002 that showed how to first do it, which is no longer there. So the only source that we can trace back to is a YouTube video that predates either our video or Mike Matei's video. So I don't want to credit to some random person who claims to be the person who discovered it and said they re-uploaded it. So that's kind of the story with that. But to answer your question, it was someone who had to have accidentally figured it out and just went nuts and told people. And then once it was easier to get videos online, that's when people started to like check it out. So
I was wondering, how extensively do you guys test these kind of things? Like the nature of glitches in general, it's like you can be 1 pixel off and you don't get the glitch working. Like, do you sit there for months at a time jumping over the flagpole, or?
Yeah, are we gonna show Halo?
No.
Halo is the worst. The Halo was
I don't want to revisit that.
Yeah, there was a gun on top of a building, but they had to like get in a spot that was like in between areas that they were loading. So they had like what's the ship that you had, the Ghost, like or the Banshee's one of the flies. Yeah, so the Banshee's like trying to steer it like into this area, but it's like the enemy's controlling it, so they like can't destroy it, but they got to move it, and like. I was just like, have fun, guys. Like every time I walked by and they were playing that, I mean, it was like 2 or 3 days to just like plugging at it.
That was frustrating. That might have looked really easy to do. That was after I had figured it out. After probably like, I don't know, like you and John Smith came over to me and were like watching me trying to do it. Like, and then they went off to go get lunch. And like an hour or two later, after watching the YouTube video of how to do it, and then I pulled it off, and they weren't there to see it, but I had recorded it, and then I brought them all around. I was like, hey, I finally did it, and then. After a few times of figuring it out, I was able to like do it consistently. It's really like you just need to see the pixel you need to be on.
Like, I've seen your Smash Brothers episode too with the glove that you can play.
Yeah, Master Hand.
And that looked like a giant pain in the butt. Like, to do.
the timing of the button input. Once you figure it out, though, it's not.
It's not difficult.
It's not that hard.
once you
Just figuring
understand.
out that timing for that one. And
Yeah.
our original video editor James is actually the first one to pull it off. His brother wrote the episode for that because the person who discovered the glitch came forward to him to pitch it, and James came in and was seeing us trying to do it, and I was like, I know we just don't have the timing, and he did it, and I was like, I watched his hands, saw I do it, and then afterwards I was able to do it pretty easily. But I would say some of the more difficult ones would be not even glitches, the Yoshi story episode, having to get every coin.
Yeah.
Before that was the Mario 64 episode, getting every coin in that game, because remember when you die in a level, you lose your coin count, you get to start all over. Yoshi's story, it's supposed to be like a really short, easy game according to everyone in the world.
No.
And then I was like sitting there cursing at the screen. People are walking by.
Anytime
Like, they
Mario
see,
cries in that game, it pisses me off.
They see cute Yoshis and colorful stuff, and I'm screaming obscenities at the screen, and they're like,
this whole show's his idea. Like, he put himself in this position.
Yeah.
Like, he's the one, you know.
So
perpetuate this.
Yeah, there are some frustrating things. We haven't encountered like a glitch yet that we haven't been able to do. So that hasn't stopped us yet, if that helps.
Cool. Good job, guys.
Thanks.
Let's do one more, then we'll show off the new episode.
Mine's kind of a follow-up question. So are you doing these by hand or using like programmable controllers?
I'm
or
sorry. Can you speak up just a little bit?
Sure. So when you're doing these things involved execution, are you doing them all by hand? Or are you using like programmable controllers or?
No, this is all on the original systems with a regular controller. So no programmed controllers or anything like that. All right, so I think it's time to show off our newest episode. So get ready. This is another fun episode we did, another collaboration. So if we go ahead and play the file new episode, hope you enjoy it.
Our viewers have bombarded GT for months now regarding a certain myth we've neglected for far too long. The fans have spoken, and Pop Fiction is happy to oblige. We're heading back to the Kanto region, a land filled with tall tales about cute psychic little Pokemon, fabled Pokegods, and other rare and powerful Pokemon lurking at the four corners of the world. Sure, the story behind catching Mew might have been tantalizing, but it honestly pales in comparison to one of the most bizarre and ridiculous myths in all of Pokédom. The legend of MissingNo. Images of MissingNo first appeared on the internet shortly after the original release of Pokemon, leading to rampant speculation regarding its existence. Nintendo themselves threw their hat into the ring by acknowledging the phenomenon in May of 1999, which only added more fuel to the fire. Does this rare Pokemon actually exist in the original editions of Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow for the Game Boy? And if so, what's the story behind it? Given the magnitude of this myth, we decided to get some help and teamed up with our good friends, the VG Fact Checkers, to see if MissingNo actually exists.
Does the original Pokedex contain more than 150 Pokemon? Can you discover new species of animals traveling along the coast? Does God make glitches? All this and more on today's episode of VG Fact Checkers. By now, I'm sure you're familiar with the myth of MissingNo, the legendary Pokemon from the original games. Could MissingNo be based off an actual animal? Is there a creature out there in the wilderness that humankind has yet to discover? We send Rocco and Sean out into the wilderness to find out. How you guys doing? Look hard. You know, if I were out there, I probably would have found something by now.
While the VG Fact Checkers are busy with their own strategy to find MissingNo, we came across what we think is more reliable information from Pokemon fan site Bulbapedia. According to their extensive research, there are apparently two ways to catch a MissingNo in the first-generation Pokemon games. The first way, referred to as the classic method, requires you to have either a copy of Pokemon Red or Blue for the Game Boy with at least one Pokemon with the Surf ability and one with the Fly ability in your party. When you're ready to go, head over to Viridian City and start a conversation with the old man shown on the screen here. Tell him that you're not in a hurry, and then watch a brief sequence unfold where the old man catches a wild Weedle. Once you're free to move around again, make your way over to Cinnabar Island using the fly ability, and then use the surf ability to move on the spaces that appear to be part of the shore. Depending on what name you've selected for your trainer, you will supposedly encounter either a normal Pokemon, a wild MissingNo, or another mysterious Pokemon nicknamed M. The second method might seem familiar to those of you who have seen episode 7 of Pop Fiction. By using the steps we outlined for catching Mew, it's apparently possible to make MissingNo appear. As a refresher, you'll need to head over to Route 8 near the door to the underground path, and it's recommended that you save at this point. You'll need to have a Pokemon with the fly ability, and then take a single step towards the trainer referred to as the Gambler. Once you do that, immediately spam the start button, and if you timed it correctly, you can access the menu. Select the Pokemon from the menu with the fly ability, but this time you'll need to fly to Lavender Town and go into the Pokemon Tower. Encounter and defeat Channeler, and then head back to Route 8. A menu will appear, and when you press B to close it, a wild MissingNo will appear. You can then use a Pokeball, preferably your Master Ball, to catch it. Before getting into our findings, let's check back with the VG fact checkers to see how their search is going.
Let's check in with our VG scientist, Sean. Sean, how's it going?
Okay. I don't know what you want from me.
Did you find any new animals?
I think that's just a bag of dog shit. My only way back is through that. I don't know how I'm gonna make it. It is very slippery.
Stop whining, you big baby. Aw, come on. All right, enough with that guy. Let's check in with Rocco. Hey, Rocco. How's the wild wilderness treating you?
I don't know. I don't see the coast anymore, and I don't know where our f***ing van is. Hey, I don't know if that's a rare bird or what. Let's go. Come on. Stay. I don't know if these birds got shit. They flew away. I don't know if those were rare birds. But, oh, ew. Ew. Someone has been eating in this area. I stepped in a large amount of food.
Wow. I'd start running if I were you.
Hey, I'm sorry. I don't know how this affects Pokemon.
Well, if I have to teach you how to do your job, we'll just do that
okay.
later.
Yeah, why don't you teach me how to do that? Yeah, because I was your boss once, remember?
You were my boss and are no longer. How did that happen?
Man, f*** you.
Well, it seems our friends aren't having the best of luck. Our findings have proven far more fruitful. Using the classic method, we're able to encounter MissingNo and successfully capture it. However, we wonder why it works in the first place. Earlier, we mentioned that your trainer name is an important factor. The letters of your name actually determine what Pokemon appears while surfing off the coast of Cinnabar Island. During the battle with the Old Man, the game temporarily switches your trainer's name to Old Man. The game's programming then saves the player's real name temporarily to the space in the memory where wild Pokemon data is stored for grass environments. Usually when you move to another area, the data will be overwritten, remedying the situation, but in city environments, like the one you travel through to get to the coast on Cinnabar Island, the data isn't overwritten. Instead, the player name is still stored in the spot reserved for determining what Pokemon should appear in grass areas when you use Surf and move along the coastline. The final piece of the puzzle is how the programmers coded the tiles that make up the coast of Cinnabar Island. Typically, grass areas aren't found in water routes, but the shore is comprised of tiles marked in the game's coding as having the same property as grass. Combine this with the fact that entering a water route won't overwrite the data you've been holding onto since you watched the Old Man capture a Weedle, and you have the recipe for a cool glitch. The game calls upon the player's name when determining what Pokemon should appear at this point, specifically the 3rd, 5th, and 7th characters of the player's name. The Pokemon's levels are determined by the 2nd, 4th, and 6th characters of the name. Other slots could also be used in determining the wild Pokemon's appearance, but due to the 7-character name limit, these slots are usually left unused. You have to have a certain letter or symbol in the right slot in the player's name for MissingNo to appear if you've picked a custom name. Likewise, you can just pick one from the preset names that will also trigger MissingNo. MissingNo's appearance also depends on what character is used in the designated slots of the player's name. If W is the character in the 3rd, 5th, or 7th slot of the player's chosen name, then MissingNo will take on the form of a Kabutops fossil. If X is the character in the 3rd, 5th, or 7th slot, then MissingNo will take on the form of an Aerodactyl fossil. Finally, if Y is this character, then MissingNo will take on the form of a ghost. The classic method of catching missing no, also referred to as the old man glitch, only works in the red and blue version, but not yellow. The second method, utilizing the Mew glitch, proved successful in not only both red and blue versions, but also Pokemon Yellow. Much like in the way that we caught Mew before, it's the value of the Pokemon special you defeat before returning to Route 8 that determines what wild Pokemon makes an appearance. If the special value of the Pokemon you defeated is one of the following numbers, then a normal MissingNo will appear. If the special value is 182, then MissingNo will appear in Kabutop's fossil form. If it's 183, MissingNo will be an Aerodactyl fossil form, and if it's 184, then it will be a ghost. In Pokemon Yellow, the special stat of the last Pokemon you defeated needs to be one of the following for MissingNo to appear. Once you actually capture a wild MissingNo, there are several cool things that are now possible. One of these is that if you use the N64 transfer pack and connect your Pokemon Red, Blue, or Yellow game pack to Pokemon Stadium and view MissingNo, it will appear as a substitute doll. Subsequently, if you view MissingNo in Pokemon Stadium 2, it will appear as a Ditto. Catching MissingNo will also result in some odd glitches. So what does Nintendo have to say on the matter? Nintendo first made a public statement regarding MissingNo in the May 1999 issue of Nintendo Power, saying, "MissingNo is a programming quirk and not a real part of the game. When you get this, your game can perform strangely and the graphics will often become scrambled. The MissingNo Pokemon is most often found after you perform the Fight Safari Zone Pokemon trick. To fix the scrambled graphics, try releasing the MissingNo Pokemon. If the problem persists, the only solution is to restart your game. This means erasing your current game and starting a brand new one." However, fans have discovered that Nintendo's instructions on fixing the graphical issues are wrong, and that the easiest way to fix the glitches caused by MissingNo is to view the Pokédex data of an official Pokemon. We reached out to Nintendo's customer service to see if they had changed their tune about MissingNo, but the email response we received was virtually the same as the statement issued over 13 years ago. We weren't satisfied with the initial response from Nintendo, so we reached out to Pokemon series creator Junichi Masuda for a statement. Unfortunately, Mr. Masuda is busy promoting the recently released Pokemon Black and White 2 in Japan and was unavailable for comment. However, we were told that he would likely be able to speak to us about MissingNo when he comes overseas to promote the North American release of Pokemon Black and White 2 later this fall. We're hesitant to check back in with the VG fact checkers, but you never know when genius will strike.
I don't understand though. Has anyone found where Sean is? Or?
There's a lot of flies and it smells like death. So this is f***ing gross. This sucks. I think I'm probably just gonna camp out. What the f*** is that? Okay, it appears to be pregnant, or was pregnant. Okay, oh, f***. It smells so bad. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is.
Wow, Sean, that thing actually looks kind of scary. But you know what? I think that could be just a shaved and mutated pig. I think we're gonna have to count this one as falsted. Let's check in with Rocco.
A lot of dog feces. Oh, thank God, rescue's here. Hey guys, I'm over.
Hey, who is you?
Okay. Oh, that's not rescue. Ah, that's not rescue. Ah, God. Ah, let go! Let go of me! Oh, God! Put my pants back!
0 for 2, because that's falsted.
The bottom line is that MissingNo is the real deal and can be found in Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow. Whether or not he exists in the real world is an entirely different mystery.
And now for our final video game mystery. The most intriguing mystery of them all. Do the massages from Mike Tyson's Punch-Out actually make you feel better? Let's find out.
Ugh, truth.
All right. So we have about 9 minutes left, so let's get a few more questions about this episode, about Mega 64. Almost. And real quick, Mega 64 apologizes that they couldn't be here. Something came up with them last night, and they won't be able to be here till Saturday, so they'll be roaming around. They do have their panel on Sunday night, ice cream story panel, so be sure to check it out. But yeah, if there's any more questions, let's go ahead and get that done real quick. We kind of
just do Mario first. You
Yeah,
guys
Mario
haven't asked me
first.
yet, so. Yo.
Hi.
Hey.
Okay. I have a two-part question. What are your thoughts about digitalgaming.com, and do you think they could possibly debunk any future information that you probably want to do?
Did you know gaming?
Yeah.
I've seen their site. I saw their video. I will say this: there have been people doing this before us. There will be people doing it probably after we're done doing it. And the more people doing it, I honestly think the better. There's other people do stuff like this, like Yuri of Wind on YouTube does his gaming mysteries. There's one other guy I'm forgetting. I apologize, but I see their site. I know they do the little images and little factoids. I'll say this: they've been wrong quite a bit lately. And if you guys go to NeoGAF, they were actually kind of contemplating trolling that site by making up fake facts in the Did You Know Shocking Secrets thread, because Did You Know Gaming seems to just pilfer from that thread. And well, whatever. I mean, they're having fun. It's not hurting anyone. So I don't know if they're going to be able to debunk anything, because most of their stuff is literally just copy and paste from other places. They don't actually do any research that I can see.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Yeah.
Did your research turned up anything about, like, there were some rumors in regards to MissingNo that the reason why it even exists in the first place was because Cubone was originally supposed to have a 3 evolution, and it was close to the the release date, so they just instead of just erasing the code altogether, they just sort of like hid the code, where the players can get it. So yeah, did it turn up anytime?
What I'll say on that is that the statement we couldn't get from Masuda, which the one I want to get from Nintendo, so it'll be official, is the supposed answer I'll give you that most people have drawn the conclusion to that have looked through the game's coding, is that there needs to be 255 Pokemon in the game for the coding to work, and there are only 151 with Mew, and all the other numbers, the name string variable is MissingNo. It's actually inputted as MissingNo in both Japanese and English. The rest of the stats for those remaining Pokemon that don't exist pull from random crap. That's why the special stats and all that stuff, to kind of where it's pulling from, hexadecimal values. That's why the image is garbled up, because it's pulling, I think, 1 pixel from from a bunch of different sprites. That's how it ends up so warped like that. I know I've heard about the Cubone theory, and maybe when they give us a statement, they'll be able to say, like, that was not true, or maybe that was something that was true, but maybe MissingNo kind of got rolled into that, or that's what fans speculate. But the most reasonable answer for MissingNo's existence is that the name was created by Nintendo specifically to fill in the remaining Pokemon, and then everything else about that Pokemon's appearance, the stats, is just random crap. That's why you get that on there. So, next.
Have you tried transferring MissingNo to other Pokemon games?
We did Stadium and Stadium
No, I mean other Pokemon.
You can transfer them up to another I believe Generation 2 games, but it screws up stuff. It doesn't actually show up correctly. I don't think it's anything as cool as that. Let me just say this: we had to each of those times we had to pick a different name for each character to try it out. I had to play Pokemon up to like the 6th badge to Cinnabar Island. And that was taking forever, and I don't know many glitches or shortcuts in that game, so it was taking like 2 days per attempt, so we didn't have enough time. So the best we could do was get those different forms and then try the Pokemon. It took forever to get the transfer pack to work on N64 with Pokemon Stadium. So I looked up the information just to see what it said about transferring it, and it seemed like it wasn't that interesting at all, what you could do with MissingNo beyond Pokemon Stadium. So, but I know it doesn't work, and it screws up stuff in other versions of in Generation 2 games. Yes.
Oh, I was just wondering, how come not the mention of when I don't know if it was capturing MissingNo or like killing them, that you can like multiply all your items?
Oh, the 6 item in the 6 item slot gets 128 items if it doesn't already have 128. And we could have mentioned that, but I mean, it's I mean, we showed off some of the graphical glitches. We could throw that in there, but I don't think it was that big of a deal to the episode. If you guys really want it in there, I mean,
I was just wondering.
We could throw it in there. But yeah, I knew that that happened, and I actually liked having that because it helped get me some calcium and I believe or carbs. What was it? The one that raises your special stat. I'm sorry that I don't remember it because I needed to actually raise the special stats too. I used the Ditto trick basically to get the those Pokemon to show up. All right, we have time for like one or two more. Go.
I don't know if you guys ever heard about this, but this was way, way back in Halo 2 when I was watching a couple of YouTube videos that you could achieve a golden warthog in multiplayer. I spent 8 hours.
We have an episode about that.
Really?
Yes, we
We
do.
did that in another one.
It's
We
our
did
Halo 2 anniversary episode. If
find
you
anything
talk to me
with-
afterwards, I'll
That's
give you the URL to check it out. We really did cover that. All right, one more question,
Yeah,
then
try to
that's
get
going to
one
be
more.
it.
All right, you in the back, you'll be the last one.
Hi. Stop and swap has probably been one of my favorite glitches. I remember, trying to do it myself for the longest, and then I saw you guys' video. So I was gonna ask, what have been your favorites to do? What have ones you've really enjoyed trying to break or figure out?
Most enjoyable one.
For me, we did GoldenEye right at the beginning, and we did that the house or whatever that's on the other side of the dam, and that was that really filled in an empty part of my soul. It was just nice to know that okay, it's nothing special, but it's just good to know.
I would say I was pretty satisfied when I got the walking the turtle glitch to work because it wasn't going so well for a while.
At all.
At all, yeah.
At all.
It was not going well But I think maybe not necessarily answering your question, but a cool, quick story is that the Zelda, doing all the Zelda glitches and stuff, there's kind of a running gag in the office that every time I play the Zelda games for one of these episodes, and then we do another one, everyone sees me playing it again. They're like, why, you've captured the whole game, why are you playing it again? There's a running gag that I go onto our file server where it stores all of our archive footage, and they claim I delete it every month, so that I have an excuse to go back and play Zelda every single month for a new episode. So it's fun to do especially new Zelda glitches. I used to really be into that stuff, and then seeing new ones come out and trying to do those. The Swordless Link episode, the playing Ocarina items on other items glitch. I hadn't actually done that before, so seeing Link play with the sword, it was the Ocarina, was kind of cool for the first time. I'd say, anything that's a new glitch, hopefully there'll be one I'll have a great story for next time, but Zelda glitches or the Mario flagpole, I think that was the one where I got the most excited when I did it, so I think that's going to wrap it up, unless you guys have a closing thing to say?
Nope, I think we got to
If you can do it in less than a minute.
Yeah,
We've got
thanks
1
for
minute.
coming out, everyone. I hope you liked the episode.
Yes, thank you very much.